guys, welcome back to another full in-depth guide. This time I'll be showing you how to make a fully functioning SkyWars map in Minecraft Java, just using command blocks. I'll be going through each aspect of the minigame and how to make it. By the way, all commands and a link to the world download will be down below, so let's get into it. Alright, first of all, the thing that happens at the very start of all SkyWars games are the randomized teams. So if I spawn in some villages, so these will be the players, I can teleport them to a completely random team. For example, player 4 is in team 1, player 1 is in team 2, and so on. So how this works is that we'll teleport a random person, or in this case villager, to the team's glass cage, if they're in the spawn area. And I made it repeat 4 times for each of my teams. But you'd probably have more teams, so you need to repeat it more times. So if you had like 10 teams, then you'd repeat it 10 times. So it teleports an entity who is anywhere from the center of the spawn to a distance of how many blocks out, depending on how big your spawn or lobby is. If the entity is a villager, but you'd obviously write player, I'll just do that right now. So if it's a player, it will sort it by random with a limit of 1, so it'll pick someone random. And then finally, it will just teleport the player to the glass cage. So you'd continue doing this for all of the teams. The only thing you'd have to change are the coords for each of the team's glass cages. Also, if you'd like a more in-depth video on how to make randomized teams, including how to make it display their team names in chat, I'll link it on the top right corner of the screen if you want to check it out. Okay, once everyone would be in the cage, the game is ready to start. So it'll count down from 10 seconds and then release you. So you can make this cage any size you want, it doesn't have to be this size. So to make this, you want to make a scoreboard dummy objective first. To make the objective, just go scoreboard, objectives add, and then I made the name countdown. And then make it a dummy objective, like that. Then you need to add a fake player into the objective. So to do that, just go /scoreboard, players, add, and then I made the name timer, and then add it under the countdown objective, and then with a value of 0, and press enter. So yeah, now you want to make a repeating command block that needs redstone, that keeps on adding 1 to the timer player in the countdown objective. And now that it's always adding 1, this here will detect if it matches 1. And since it is, it will display a title and player sound to everyone. And since 20 in-game ticks equals 1 second, and since it's always adding 1 to the timer scoreboard every tick, which would mean at 100 ticks, 5 seconds would have passed. So this detects that, and then displays another title, saying that it's 5 seconds until the players get released, and then plays another sound. So that's pretty much how this whole thing works. I'll show the scoreboard so it's easier to understand. So scoreboard, objectives, set display, sidebar, and then countdown. And let me get a redstone block and activate it. So all of these commands just detect if the timer scoreboard is a certain amount of ticks, which meaning how much time has passed. Then it'll display a title for the corresponding amount of time until the players get released. So at 0 seconds, for the release system, it will set it so there's no fall damage, and then it will regenerate all of them, so just in case they aren't full health. And then after that, it just fills all the cages to air, so it will release everyone. And then finally, after 2 seconds, so after another 2 seconds, which is 40 ticks, so when everyone should have fallen, it will set 4 damage back to true, and then set a redstone block, set this redstone block back to air, and then set a redstone block here, which will reset the timer scoreboard back to 0. But yeah, remember all commands will be down below, but if you have any questions you can just head to my Discord server and ask me there directly. Alright, moving on to the randomized chests. Now don't let this intimidate you, it's actually pretty simple once you understand it. But it's a very common randomization system that a lot of people use. So as you can see, it works with armor stands. It will pick a random armor stand using the execute command, then set a redstone block underneath whichever one it chose, cloning the corresponding chest that already has loot inside of it, to be over wherever you want. So executes at an entity, which is an armor stand with the name of chest, and then it will sort it by random with a limit of 1. So it picks any random armor stand that's named chest, and then it will set a block, a redstone block, 2 blocks beneath it. So say if it picks this one, it will set a redstone block here, which will activate this, which will clone this chest over here that already has loot inside of it, to be over here, or somewhere on one of these chests. So yeah, you just have to do this for every chest you want to have, and remember you just have to change the name of the stand for each one. So now moving on to the final section, and also probably the most challenging section to make, which is the win detection and death system. So it works with two scoreboards. One has the criteria of death count, and the other one's just a regular dummy objective. So to set up everything, you would need to make a objective coord death count with the criteria of death count, like so. So add death count, and it has a criteria of death count. So next, you want to make another objective called number of players. So scoreboard, objectives, add num players, let's just call it that, with a dummy objective, like that. So this is to keep track of the total players that are still alive. Once you've made both of them, you now need to make a fake player within the number of players objective with a starting value of 0. So to do that, just go scoreboard, players, add, let's just call it players, and then within the number of players objective with a starting score of 0, like that. And now, basically, after you've teleported everyone to their cages at the start, over here, you need to set the world spawn from the lobby to over above the arena. So that's the spectating platform. So say this is the arena, and that's the spectating platform above. So if they die, they'll spawn up here. Okay, so now that we've got everything set up, we want to add each player to the death count objective at the very start of the game when you teleport them to their cages, so you can keep track of the death count. So after you teleport the person to the cage, you would also need to add them to the death count objective by doing scoreboard players add at A and then the coords of their cage, and then add them to the death count objective with a value of 0, because they would currently have 0 deaths. Then you'd also increase the total players alive up by 1 by doing scoreboard players add players, so that's the fake player we created before, number of players, so that's the objective, up by 1. And you'll need to do this every time a person would be teleported to their cage. So let me show you the scoreboard to help visualize it for you. So once a player would be teleported, you would also need to add that player into the death count objective. So if I add myself into the objective, you can see that Cool64 is now in the objective with 0 deaths, and you'll need to also increase the value of the number of players up by 1. So as you can see, the total number of players is now 1. Okay, so once you've teleported everyone to the cage and added them to the scoreboard, you'll need to set a redstone block over here, which will activate these repeating command blocks. This command block here is always testing if a person has a death count of 1, meaning that they would have died. So if they do, it removes 1 from the total number of players scoreboard. So that's just the death detection. Now for the win detection. This command block here is seeing if the score of the total number of players is equal to 1, meaning that there would only be 1 person remaining. So if there is only 1 person remaining, it will display a title saying victory to people only with a death count of 0, meaning that they're still alive. Next, it will display a title to everyone who has died, so if they have a death count of 1 or more, saying defeat. And now it's just resetting everything. So it sets the number of players back to 0, and then resets the death count objective, and then sets this redstone block back to air, and then finally just sets the road spawn point back to the lobby over there. And yeah, that's it. To be honest, I might make a video in depth on how to make a fully working win detection and spectator system, but that's what I got for now. And yeah, that's how to make a fully functioning SkyWars map just using command blocks. I hope this helped and that you learnt something. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, as I worked really hard on this. But yeah, see you in the next one.